Illinois has had an incredible season so far. 4-0 for Illinois right now. But their toughest road really lies ahead. They have 4 very tough opponents in the next upcoming weeks. So how can this team, who was initially ranked was ranked at the beginning of the season by me, number 10 in the Big Ten, so not even really in the top 10 overall in all D1 teams, but number 10 in the Big Ten, who I now have at number 5, and is overall number 9 in the coaches poll because of their big wins. Can they pull off an undefeated season? I find that unlikely, but I mean, they're likely not going to pull off an undefeated season, but they can pull off a couple more wins, in my opinion, and we'll get to that. But first, before I get to that, I want to tell you that this segment is actually brought to you by channel member Jason Brantley, who joined as a YouTube channel supporter this very month. He's been supporting the channel with the special Fanco wrestling emoji. He's been commenting those along, and you may see him down in the comments with the little channel badge on his YouTube username, which is kind of cool. It helps me keep track of the big Fanco Wrestling supporters. So if you're somebody who wants to support Fanco Wrestling and maybe receive a shout out in a future segment or video, all you have to do is click the join button right below this video or on the Fanco Wrestling YouTube channel. Now, this only works, actually, unfortunately, on desktop. I haven't found a way to get it to work on mobile, but if you're super interested in supporting Fanco Wrestling, I'm sure you can find a way to get that done. So far this season, Illinois is has a couple guys who are undefeated on their roster. I talked about this in the recent video, in the Big Ten Tuesday video, talking about the recent Big Ten rankings, where I have Illinois at number 5 in the Big Ten. Lucas Bird is 4-0, Dylan Duncan 2-0, Dan Barnigle 4-0, and Luke Luffman 4-0. The team is also 4-0 right now with wins over Indiana, Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Purdue. So let's look at what they've been through so far in their season, because they've had a great year so far, as we've seen. Against Indiana, it was a pretty big win, and not like anything huge. It wasn't like unexpected that Illinois was going to get a win over Indiana, who's right now is at the bottom of the Big Ten. Not the very bottom, that's Maryland. But the big win came when they beat number 8 Ohio State. The big wins here were Dan Barnigle and Zach Barnigle, the brothers Dan Barnigle beat Ethan Smith, and Zach Barnigle beat Rocky Jordan. And those are two of the big upsets there. Wisconsin, they also beat Wisconsin. Illinois beat Wisconsin, who also had a recent good win this past weekend over at Purdue, but Illinois beat Wisconsin with sophomore Luffman, his win over Tate Orndorff and Trent Hilger. Those were huge that weekend against Ohio State and and Wisconsin, when Luke Luffman came to bout. I mean, he just came to battle that weekend. And then with a win over Purdue, which was number 13 Purdue, DJ Shannon pulls off the upset over top 25 ranked Emil Sonlin. So we've seen in each of these duels, there's somebody in the lineup who comes alive. Whether it's the Barnigles or Luffman or DJ Shannon, somebody always comes alive for Illinois. Who's it going to be this weekend? So who is next on Illinois' schedule? Why is it a tough road ahead? All right, so they have Iowa this weekend, who we all know Iowa has been absolutely dominating. Nebraska, who's one of the top teams in the NCAA. They've dominated Minnesota. It's going to be tough for Illinois to compete against Iowa, and I don't really expect them to, honestly. I think that there can be some good matches, and I'll talk about that in just a second, but I don't think the team overall is ready for Iowa yet. I think Illinois is building up to a solid team, and they do have next on their schedule, they have number 1 Iowa, number 2 Michigan. Unfortunately, that was postponed, so they will not be wrestling Michigan, but they do have number 15 Minnesota on February 5th, number 26 Northwestern on February 7th, and number 7 Nebraska on February 21st. Those rankings right there coming from the coaches poll that happens every single week. But against Iowa this weekend, so can we really expect any big matches for them? Yeah, I think we actually can. We can expect Mikey Car, to potentially get an upset over Max Murin. Now, Murin is somebody who I think has really been looking good at 149. So I wouldn't say this is anything that is going to be real close, but maybe Mikey Car. I mean, he's kind of been my dark horse pick over the last couple of seasons. I think Carr could get the upset over Murin, but Murin's been looking good too. Carr's already been pinned, unfortunately, this season by Simi Sasso, caught in a cradle there. But Zach Barnigle versus Nelson Brand should be an interesting one. Barnigle has wrestled I believe he's wrestled Assad in the past. Or no, he's wrestled Rocky Jordan in the past. And Rocky Jordan, who Barnigle has beat Jordan recently. But Jordan has also lost to Abe Assad, and we know that Abe Assad and Nelson Brand situation, we're not really sure what's going on there. So, I mean, could be an interesting one, but again, Nelson Brand's looking good. Iowa's looking good this season. Luffman and Cassiope should be, actually, I think, be a heavyweight battle. I'm interested in seeing, Luffman already beat Helger and Orndorff. How is he going to do against an Anthony Cassiope? It's a heavyweight battle. I think that could come down to an exciting last match in the Illinois and Iowa duel. February 5th, Minnesota, who's 2-2 right now, who actually Illinois lost their last meeting to, is number 15, Minnesota. I think that this could be an interesting matchup. Now, here's what's going to happen here. Is Minnesota right now has no big wins, but they have a couple of, big losses. They lost to Nebraska. They lost to Iowa. So you can't really tell how they're going to do. I mean, they got beat down by Iowa, but so did Nebraska. So I think that this upcoming duel with Illinois and Minnesota is going to solidify the Big Ten rankings. As far as the number 5, number 6 spot, number 7 spot, if Illinois loses, it doesn't really bode well for the rankings. They'll drop down below Minnesota, but who are they bringing? Minnesota is bringing a tough Pat McKee, Boo Dryden, Brayton Lee, as well as Gable Steveson, of course. Now, what are going to be the marquee, interesting matchups? I think, Luffman, I think, is more of a battle for a Cassiope than a Gable Steveson. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I just think Gable's he's too dominant at heavyweight right now. So, Mikey Car versus Blockus. I think that should be an interesting one. Who has struggled. Blockus has kind of struggled since his change to the Big Ten from Northern Iowa in the past season. And Carr could continue to prove him wrong. We'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens if Carr can continue to, rack in those Big Ten wins over Blockus. Not that I want to see that continue to happen with if somebody, transfers in, but it's just something that I did notice. Andrew Sparks and Dan Barnigle should be an interesting match. Now, Andrew Sparks had a solid match against Alex Marinelli against Iowa. I mean, he lost, and he wasn't able to defend his legs against Marinelli, but he's going to bring the heat against a guy like Dan Barnigle, who that should be an interesting one. That should be an interesting one. Like I said, Barnigle's undefeated right now. I don't know if that's going to continue after the Iowa duel, but should be an interesting matchup. And then this is the one that's probably going to be the toughest for rankings with Illinois and Northwestern. Northwestern, who actually Illinois beat last year, beat them at number 26 Northwestern right now, just dropped out of the coaches poll this past weekend. It's going to be a tough matchup for the team. Deacon, they're bringing Lucas Davison. Tough matchups, number 125, number 7, D'Agostino going up against Cardani, who's a top 20 ranked wrestler, who Cardani won in the last duel, actually, won by a score of 4-2, so like I said, it's going to be close. 149, Carr and Yaya Thomas, who actually have yet to wrestle in college, and those are two guys who I always enjoy watching wrestle, should be interesting, but if Illinois loses to Northwestern, that's going to be tough. I think I kind of looked at the lineups just briefly, and it's going to be a tough matchup for the team based on where their ranked guys are versus where Illinois' ranked guys are. Because if Yaya Thomas, if D'Agostino, if these guys can pull off the upsets against Illinois, it's going to be a tough battle for them. As far as the last duel that they have against Nebraska, it's actually a better matchup than I thought. This is the thing about wrestling, guys, the duel meets that I really love, is it comes down to matchups. It comes down to where the ranked guys are, where the tough spots are, where the holes are. And some of these teams match up where their holes are in the same spots, their ranked guys are in the same spots. It just comes down to who's grittier, who's going to pull through, who's going to get the upset. And against the Nebraska, if Illinois beats Nebraska, I'll be flabbergasted. But it's not impossible. It's not impossible. It's a better matchup than I thought. Illinois will have to win the unranked battles at 133 and 157. Carr is going to have to hold tight against Brock Hardy, who's a new top 20 ranked wrestler out of Nebraska, who has had some great wins so far this season. And same with Luffman over Lance, who's a top 20 ranked wrestler. These guys are going to have to hold out tight against Nebraska or risk being beat down pretty bad. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I actually think that this is going to be a tough battle. Best case for Illinois in the road ahead is they defeat Minnesota, they defeat Nebraska, and they go 7-1. I'm not going to pull out something crazy where they're going to beat Iowa. I think their best case scenario is they go 7-1. Their worst case, on the other hand, is if they lose to Northwestern, drop down in the rankings because they go 4 up, they won their first 4, and then they go 4 down and lose their last 4. I hope that we don't see that happen. I actually don't expect that to happen with Illinois, but we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think about the Illinois wrestling team this year. They have been crushing it, but how are they going to do for the duration of the rest of the season? If you like this clip and are looking for more wrestling news and discussion, I recommend that you check out the full Fanco Wrestling Show podcast, which is live on this YouTube channel every single week. You can click here to subscribe to be notified of new and upcoming videos, or you can check out the Fanco Wrestling Show on your favorite podcasting platform to listen on the go. Stop stalling and start listening today.